Welcome to the video. In this video, we're going to dive into the two-game series this weekend between the Cubs and White Sox. Big storyline coming into this weekend is the White Sox just fired their manager, Pedro Grifol, and announced Grady Sizemore, who's never had any MLB coaching experience or managing experience, will be taking over as interim manager. This comes after the White Sox started 28 and 89 this year. As we see down here, they're last place of the Central and 40 and a half games back. One of the worst seasons we've seen from anyone in quite some time. The struggling White Sox take on the Cubs, currently 3 games below 500 at 57 and 60. They sit fourth place or tied for fourth place in the National League Central behind the Milwaukee Brewers, St. Louis Cardinals, Pittsburgh Pirates. The White Sox recently had a 21-game losing streak. They won 2 games ago in Oakland and then lost the finale. So finally got that streak out of the way. Take a look at where these games will be played. Guaranteed Rate Field on the south side. As you can see, it ranks about average, so hundreds average runs, so a little bit below average runs scored there. The one kind of weird number that sticks out is the 64 here for triples. So not many triples happen at Guaranteed Rate Field. So that sounds like personal challenge to PCA to get a triple this series. But that's one of the weird quirks about Guaranteed Rate Field is really not many opportunities for those triples. Let's take a look at the pitching matchups. For game one, Garrett Crochet scheduled to go for the White Sox. And he's had a great season. You just see 100th percentile in the fastball run value. So that's been his key all year. Pounds the zone with fastballs, has really limited the walk percentage given that this is his first year as a starter. And the strikeouts have been incredible, 33.9%, 97th percentile. That's one, and then that extension in the 94th is one of those things that makes that fastball so hard for hitters to catch up to. But as you see with those other pitches, some damage can be done with against the breaking ball and the changeup a little bit. But 55% of his pitches thrown are fastballs, so that's going to be his bread and butter, and that's what's worked out so well for him this season. On the other side of things in game one, we'll have Jameson Taillon going for the Cubs. Taillon's another guy that pounds the fastball. That's one of his best attributes as well, as you see 93rd percentile in fastball run value. And he attacks the zone, does not walk guys, doesn't necessarily get many strikeouts, but really limits the walk. So a lot of balls in play, which should be it's worked out really well for him this year for the Cubs. And 31% fastball, so fastball cutter is what he works with. Let's take a look at how these two have been with their start scores. So 0 to 100, start score 100 would be the best in MLB, 50's average. And we see these two have kind of struggled as of late, especially Crochet here with his last two went from a 65, a 32 against Seattle, and a 24 in his last at Minnesota. Taillon's had that real rough one here with the 18 at Cincinnati. Okay, very hitter-friendly ballpark. Maybe you can give him a pass on that one. And then had a 54 in his last against St. Louis. So I'll give him the slight edge in terms of recent performance. For game one, now we'll take a look at the starting pitching matchup for Saturday night's game, 6:15 on Fox. For the White Sox, it'll be Chris Flexen. And as you can see, Flexen has had a really rough year. Lowest percentile in the league in pitching run value, minus 19 runs. And almost everything is blue here, which is not a good sign for him. Although the one thing he's been the best at is avoiding the hard hit rate. So I'm not sure that really tells us a whole lot other than he's not giving up a crazy number of homers. I mean, he's given up maybe 1 or 2, 0, 1 or 2 for pretty much every game, but not doing it for the Sox. But At this point, they're just rolling with him. So great chance for the Cubs to put some runs up and get that offense going on Saturday night. For the Cubs, it'll be Justin Steele. Steele's been really good for most of the year, especially that stretch leading up to the All-Star break. Had a couple rougher ones coming out of the break, and then has seemed to maybe found it. We'll jump into the graph in a little bit, but just taking a look at some of Steele's stats here. We see he's really done well with the mix of slider fastball, not necessarily one or the other overpowering his run value. And he's done really good avoiding the barrels. That's part of that slider, or the fastball is really kind of a cutter. So just avoiding barrels has been his biggest key to success. As we take a look here, we see Flexen really hovering around that, well, really below average. He had one above average over his last, I don't even know how many, double digit starts there, really, all the way back to June 9th, really. It was the last time he had a above 60 start. So look for the Cubs to jump on him. Steele, as we can see, had those rough few starts out of the break. Last one against St. Louis, 86, was very good. So hope to see him regain that on Saturday night against the struggling White Sox. Quick look at some team hitting stats over the last week. These stats are for. And the White Sox batting 183 over the last 7 days. 240, 245 WOBA, and slugging just 315. Those are all bottom in the MLB. You see the Cubs hitting 246, and then about a little below average for WOBA, above average for slugging, thanks to a couple homers. And then we take a look at a few more team hitting stats here. We've got xWOBA, so how our teams are hitting it. Sox not last, but still near the bottom. Cubs about average. Whiff percentage, Cubs, actually, that's pretty impressive for them to have moved this low on the whiff percentage. White Sox pretty high. And then run expectancy by team, White Sox again last in the MLB. Cubs slightly below average. So kind of aligning with multiple reasons why the Sox had a 21 game losing streak, but now let's dive into some of the specifics on the players. Cubs hitters this year. Take a look at the whole team right here. Yes, David Bodie's still hitting 326. A whole lot on this one. More specifically, I like to look at the last 7 stats. So who's been hot? Bush. Bethancourt's been actually really good since he's been on the Cubs, and PCA started to heat up, and then Suzuki's still hitting the ball hard as well. More specifically, we've got PCA, Bush, Suzuki, Horner, those 3, 4 guys really been the ones leading the Cubs over the last week. I'm gonna take a look at the White Sox players, and yikes, not a single guy hitting above 240 for the year. They've got not a single guy above average WRC plus, which is 100. So it's been rough. They got some power threats with Andrew Vaughn and Luis Robert, and a little bit with Benintendi. And we'll talk about him a little bit more in a little bit here. Behind the plate, some decent caught stealing rates from Corey Lee and Chucky Robinson. So that's not really been something that's hurt them too much, but they again haven't been in a ton of close games either. As we look at who's been hot over the last 7 days, Vaughn, Benintendi, newly acquired Miguel Vargas from the Dodgers, and then a rookie they recently brought up, Brooks Baldwin. The one thing, Andrew Benintendi hitting just 210 on the year, but over the last, he's got 3 homers in his last 4 games. So he's coming in hitting the ball pretty well. So he might be one to watch in that White Sox lineup. Here's my prediction for the 2-game series. I've got the Cubs with a 59.9% chance to win on Friday night, and then a 93.5% chance to win on Saturday night. A lot of that, again, going against the best, or going against one of the worst pitchers in baseball this year, and Chris Flexen. and then Justin Steele starting to get it locked in recently. So probably about 6-2 is my predicted score on that game, and about 3-2 maybe, or 4-3, something like that on Friday night. Let me know in the comments what you think, if you think the Sox have a better shot now with a new manager with Grady Sizemore. And it is important to look back at how these two played the last time they met. The Sox in both games had a four or more run lead and blew them both games won by the Cubs 7-6. So they have been playing close games then, but I think if the Cubs can avoid getting down 4 runs early on, this series might not be as close. Again, Crochet in the first game though could make for a close one. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content I'm bringing to you. And let's have a great Crosstown Classic weekend and an off day on Sunday.